Welcome back to the Colors of Wind YouTube channel. My name is Garrett, and today I'm bringing you a Halloween special for Hocus Pocus. I hope everyone is having as safe a Halloween as they possibly can. If you are going out, please maintain social distancing. Wear a mask if you can. If you're going to a social event, just be safe. No need for any bad to happen with a good holiday. So Hocus Pocus came out in 1993, surprisingly in July, since it's a very Halloween themed film. When it first came out, it did not do well critically, but since then it's became a massive cult classic. It's Freeform's coup d'etat in the Halloween season, and everyone loves it. And I thought it'd be perfect as a first Halloween special that I'm doing. Instead of going full horror, just go light, family fun. You still have your Halloween theme in there, you know, a little bit spooky. I mean, I could have gone like full Halloween, but that's like a little too horror. It's not exactly family friendly, so I wanted to avoid that. The film stars the brilliant Bette Midler, amazing Sarah Jessica Parker, and hilarious Kathy Najimy as the Sanderson sisters, with Omri Katz, Vanessa Shaw, and Thora Birch as your trio of kids, Doug Jones as Billy Butcherson, and Sean Murray as Thackeray Binks. I think these gotta come off now. These are really annoying. It's fun while they lasted. Now, what's a cult classic doesn't mean it's a cinematic masterpiece. There are some issues with this film, kind of minor, iffy. One thing just really sticks out to me through the entire movie, but in the end, this is a really fun film that just gives you the Halloween feels and is perfect for all of October, really any time of the year if you want a really good comedy. So let's just get into the plot of this film and review Hocus Pocus. The film opens up with a pretty quick title card, or book. It's pretty sudden, and then it opens up into a POV shot as if we're one of the witches flying through the town of Salem. Thackeray Binks wakes up to the sound of Sarah Jessica Parker's Sarah Sanderson walking past his house and realizes that Emily is away. He leaves the house, and as he starts his search for Emily, we hear Sarah Jessica Parker's song that attracts children kind of toned down. It's not as loud as it is later in the film. It is good foreshadowing of what her power is, as she can lure children. Thackeray ends up seeing a glimpse of his sister being led away by Sarah, and in the process of tracking them down, he takes a tumble through the woods and ends up at the Sanderson sisters' house. This is a fantastic intro for these three.
Oh, look. Another glorious morning. Makes me sick.
So what they're doing is they are trying to get the life force out of all the children in Salem, first with Emily, so that they can become younger and beautiful and live forever. So we see the potion being made in this first scene that they're in, with all the ingredients said out loud so that the audience knows what it is. It's a really well-written opening scene for the Sanderson sisters. It works incredibly well, give them the tone, how they are as characters, and then give lots for the actresses to do in their scenes, especially comedically. Kathy Najimy and Sarah Jessica Parker are so hilarious in this opening scene, acting like little children, frolicking around, throwing dead man's toes everywhere. It's just so good, and that's something that carries out through this entire film. The background stuff that they do is wonderful, especially Sarah Jessica Parker. In the end, they succeed in getting Emily's life force, and this is another brilliantly acted scene by those three actresses. What they do while they're saying the spell to turn him into a cat is just so much fun. The swaying side to side and everything that they're doing, it's just perfect timing. So good. And they're caught, and they're set up to hang, and before they do, they are able to put a spell out. If a virgin lights a candle on All Hallows Eve, they are able to come back alive, thus transitioning to present day Salem, where we have a teacher telling us what we just saw through a bit of exposition just to catch up, like Max, our main character, who's a little bit skeptic. He doesn't believe that this is real. He says that Halloween is just a holiday owned by candy companies to try and get money from everyone. He's a skeptic. He doesn't believe it. Allison, on the other hand, says the history of Halloween, what it's used for, and that gets a round of applause. It's so funny to me how something that nowadays for teenagers is more for like partying was back in the day loved by teenagers in this movie. It's an interesting dynamic to see that year difference. Max does have some huge balls to give Allison his phone number after he gets humiliated in class. Like, damn, I could never do that. Good for you, kiddo. The next scene, though, for me, has some really bad sound design. I'm not sure if it is. I don't know if the sound is off or just the 3 times. Like, I just kept noticing it again and again. I think the ADR in the scene where Max is talking to Allison outside of the school is off for Max. His mouth isn't just moving the same way these words are being said.
Great, but I don't know. Just all this Halloween stuff.
You don't believe in it?
What do you mean, like the Sanderson sisters? No way.
That's just a real nitpick for me, but it was very distracting in that scene. And then Max, for some reason, rides his bike to a cemetery. Doesn't give us a reason why. I think the only reason this scene exists is to somehow introduce Jay and Ice, the 2 bullies who take his shoes. And it's a really awkward scene. There's too many pauses in between lines delivered. And it's just very slow. It's a really, really slow scene that just seems absolutely unnecessary. So now we have our intro to Danny, Max's younger sister, and a really good kid-friendly POV scare. You see the camera looking through the closet in Max's room, a little bit set up for the witches later on in the film. It's a lighthearted scare. It's good for a kid's movie, which is what I have to say. This is a very good early scary movie to show your kids, and they'll still have a great time. I'm gonna say that over and over again. Really fun family film. But Max does not want to take Danny out trick-or-treating. She's 8 years old. This is their first Halloween in Salem. She definitely needs someone to take her trick-or-treating, but Max doesn't want to because he doesn't like to live here. We have a brilliant Danny scream queen mom. And Max is forced to take Danny out trick-or-treating. He's wearing a costume as a rap singer. And this sets up a really good joke later on in the film where Danny mistakenly says Little Leaguer. And that's something I do like that Danny does throughout this film. She mistakes stuff that people say for other things, like a little kid does. So the second bully scene that we have, Max is ridiculed for taking Danny out for Halloween. This is a much better scene for those bullies. There's actual purpose and reason for them to be there. And this creates a little tension between Max and Danny because Danny ends up embarrassing him in front of every single boy from school. And this causes Danny to run away because Max tells her to get her candy and then get out of his life. And for some reason, she just goes and lays down on some random person's pumpkin. So weird, but this is the only scene where any character development actually happens for Max. He apologizes to Danny after being mean to her, and he convinces her to get back to trick-or-treating because they're a family and everything. And this is maybe like 20 minutes into the movie. Way too early to finish a character arc. Even though it is short, there's no character arc left for Max in the entire film. Really, there's no character arc for anyone in this movie. And it just so happens that the pumpkin that Danny chose is in front of the house where Allison lives. And Max gets the grand idea to bring Allison and Danny to the Sanderson sisters' house, which has since been closed down because bad stuff kept happening in it, which I think is due to Thackeray as a cat, and that never really gets explained. And Danny has a great line in this scene that he's trying to convince Danny to go to the house with them.
So take her to the movies like a normal person.
Danny!
So then they arrive at the Sanderson sisters' house. Max picks up a lighter, and he gets the grand idea to light the candle because it's just a bunch of hocus pocus. And you know what? He's a virgin. Which, if you didn't know, this is the first Disney film to have the word virgin in it. And it's funny to me for when this came out, or to show it to your little kids now and be like, Mom, what's a virgin? And then, like, parents not expecting that to be in a Disney film. And they'll have to be like, well, sex is a thing, and a virgin is what you are before you have sex. So, like, don't know. So because Max lights the candle, weird stuff happens inside the house, and the Sanderson sisters arrive. And it's such a breath of fresh air when they arrive back on the screen. This movie would not work if these three women were not cast in this film. Because honestly, your kid characters in this movie are really boring. Winifred, Mary, and Sarah just shine so brightly in this film as characters. They're just so much fun. And when the sisters arrive, they start checking stuff around their house. Just brilliant lines all over the place. It's so funny. Mary catches the scent of the children. She finds Danny, who plays it off as if she brought them back since she's a virgin and everything, a little bit too macho. And the witches just seem right through it. I would have loved to see the writers have just been like, oh, I'm a little witch, and we see like Danny like be one of them, kind of. That would have been fun. I still like what this film does with it though. Have your team of kids against your team of witches who signed a deal with the devil. But they're not like a Robert Eggers kind of witch where they're just in the nude the entire time. That would have been weird for a Disney movie. I really like what they do here, but I also like Robert Eggers the witch. And in this scene, when Max comes out to save his little sister, there's some really fun wire work that they do that you can see in behind the scenes footage to make Max slide on the floor or go up from the floor to the wall when Winifred is doing her electricity stuff. This is a really fun film to learn how they made this movie. A lot of wire stunts went into it. When the witches are flying, they actually had the actresses on a broom and wires, and they had them fly around on the indoor set that they had. They also had dolls that they used to get the same wind effects and everything so that they could use those and put them into the film as well for other shots that were used. Can you see when that's used? Not really. I couldn't figure that out on any of the extra viewings for this film. So it works really well in the end. The kids escape because Max tricks the witches that the water sprinklers are waters of death. During this escape scene, Max finds out that Thackeray, who is now a black cat, can talk. And Thackeray takes them to a graveyard while the Sanderson sisters set out to find them. We learn about Billy Butcherson. I wonder if he's the leader of a group of superhero hunters. Anywho, he's a zombie in this film because Winifred killed him. And we have an excellent Sanderson sisters scene when we learn that they have until morning because that's how long the magic of the candle works. Sarah Jessica Parker is so brilliant in this scene. Her ad-libbing and just acting with her eating a spider, and then later in the scene just shoving the whole thing in her throat. Oh, so funny. It's background stuff like that I can just watch other people rather than the people talking. This film just gives so many things that you can see with so many viewings. And it also makes them be good villains for a kids movie because even though they are threatening with the fact that they can kill children and they won't live through the night, they're still comedic, they're funny, they're likable. It balances out really well. So the witches find them at the graveyard and they can't touch the ground because it's hallowed ground, otherwise something bad will happen to them, thus giving the kids a sort of safe place that they can go to. Winifred ends up bringing Billy back to life, however, in the chase of him getting the kids, his head is knocked off. And this is a really cool behind the scenes bit. When his head is off, they have a woman inside like a bodysuit. Her head is in like the chest where the suit would be in, so you can still have like his body running around. and have that stuff be there. It's really fun. And again, the kids escape, this time going into a sewer system, underground system. I'm not really sure. He says it in the movie, but I forgot right now. And you have another killer Sanderson sisters scene. This is them outside of the gates of the graveyard while Winifred and Mary are talking. Sarah Jessica Parker is just swinging on the gate. So funny. And then they have their calming circle bit. It's so good. Line after line are these three women so funny. But then you have a really creepy bus scene, and I don't like this. This bus driver is creepy, and I feel like the only reason he's in this movie is for adult humor, but it doesn't hold up at all. If this was my movie nowadays, there would have been some comeuppance for the bus driver being so creepy and freakishly weird and sexist, and he would have turned into something, maybe like a toad. I don't know, but like, he doesn't get any comeuppance for being so creepishly weird. It doesn't hold up anymore. You could cut it out of the film right now. And even though Mary smells children, they just see a bunch of these kids in costumes, not knowing they're kids. A little angel girl says, "Bless you." There's a great reaction from the witches. You also have royalty-free Sonic roaming the streets as well. And then you have a brilliant little scene that is a little bit slow for my taste, but the devil shows up, and the three witches' reactions are so good. You have the wife of the man in the devil costume, who Mary says that she's Medusa. But while those scenes are happening, the kids are avoiding Billy Butcherson through the underground, and they end up going to town hall to try and find their parents. And this brings the most iconic scene out of this film when the Sanderson sisters sing "I'll Put a Spell on You." And Bette Midler is just so good in this song. When she sings "Bye" at the end of the song, so good. None of the adults at the party believe them because they just think the witches are a band, so the kids have to leave. And the scene kind of sets it up as if the parents are getting a spell put on them because the kids are like, "Don't put your ears on." But this is also the song that was being sung when everyone entered the building. The original band was singing "I Put a Spell on You," just like with different lyrics. But that's where Winifred gets the idea for the song from. So we don't know if the parents actually get a spell or not on them. And it does take them until the morning to leave this party. Maybe that's just because Salem does that. You see that at the very end of the film as a little bit, that they're just finally leaving the party. And Allison figures out a plan to get rid of the witches. They lure them to the school where they trap them inside a kiln using a radio and a tape that keeps saying in different languages, "I want my book," leading to a really great bit later in the movie. And the witches are burned in the kiln. The kids celebrate and everything is fine. But not really. And I love this choice to have everyone be in a false sense of security. The kids can relax, sleep a bit, and they think everything is fine. They don't have their heads around corners or anything. They're not on their toes, and they make mistakes. It's a really good choice to have in your movie. So the witches are not burned. They come out of the kiln with Winifred saying, "I want my book," in all of the languages that were being said on the tape. It's really funny to me. It's such a good little thing. And then they run into the bullies, and they turn around in such an iconic way that is just memes and gifs galore nowadays. After Jay and Ice were rude to them, it just cuts back to them being back in their house, and the Sanderson sisters have caught those two bullies. But now it is 5 a.m. and Max and Allison have the brilliant idea to try and help Binks come back from being a cat. So they open up the book, thus letting the witches know where they are. And in this scene of realizing where the location of the book is, there's a hilarious goodbye bit. It's just fun ad-libbing. I doubt that many goodbyes were written down in the script. It's so funny. And then they leave on modern day equipment, a modern day broom, a modern day mop, and a vacuum. It's hilarious to see that transition, especially when while Mary's flying the vacuum, it turns on and is making vacuum noise. So good. So with some 7-Up product placement, Max finds some salt because Allison reads inside the book that if you make a salt circle around you, you're protected from any of the witch's spells, so she wants salt. And then their kiss is interrupted by a commotion upstairs. The witches have caught Danny, Binks, and the book, and because Allison makes a circle around her and Max after he gets knocked out, the Sanderson sisters take off with Danny, the cat, and the book. And on the way home, Sarah starts her song again. This time it's louder in the mix of everything. It's more the focus of that scene, and this draws all the kids in Salem towards their house. So Max drives to the Sanderson sisters' house because sure he can drive. And once again, they save Danny from drinking the potion and escape with their lives. However, in this scene, I have my biggest problem with Max. He's supposed to be our hero, he's supposed to be the good guy, yet he doesn't save the bullies. If he really wanted to have like a good kids movie, he would have saved them no matter what. That's just a really big flaw in the writing of his character, in my opinion. So Max also dumps over their potion, and this is when the witches have a choice. They can either make a new one and get all of the kids in Salem that have arrived to their house, or they can use the one little bit of potion they have left. And Winifred is so adamant on using that to get Danny because Danny was mean to her that this is their choice and what leads to their eventual death when they could have just done what they needed to do. So the kids have gone back to the graveyard, and now the Sanderson sisters arrive, leading to your fun third act finale. This finale has the best shot in the film when Winifred is chasing after Max. I really love how that shot looks. This might have been when they used a doll, I'm not really sure. So Billy is now on the kids' side, and he ends up losing his head again in the process of this finale. And Danny leaves her salt circle to go help him and then gets captured by Winifred. Thackeray saves Danny from drinking the potion, and Max ends up doing so, thus saving his sister because family is important. Some other fun wire stunts happen, and the sun eventually comes up and turns all the witches into dust. Max is fine. Winifred first got turned into a statue, and then she blew up into dust. However, Binks does not survive the night. Though what the good turnout is, his soul is now with Emily's, and the film ends with the two of them walking into the sunrise as the trio of kids watch. And in the end of the movie, the book eye opens. Ooh. So that's the plot of the film and what I thought during it. My biggest flaw with this movie is its score. It's too loud and it's too actiony for a film that really doesn't have a lot of intense action. They should have mixed it lower so that when dialogue is being said and stuff, you can hear it a little bit better. It's just too intense of a score for this film. It's very much out of theme, and it's not in the genre of spooky family fun comedy. I do really enjoy this movie though. It's fun, it's lighthearted, it's perfect for family and kids. It's a great Halloween film if you're not wanting to watch a scary movie. It's a Disney classic. It has some friendly scares and enough of a faux for the film to be spooky for children. However, the comedy keeps it lighthearted enough to make it thoroughly entertaining and a huge amount of fun if you view this just as a comedy film. The movie does drag on a bit, but that's to be expected with comedies. They can't all be perfectly paced. And in the end, I'm going to give Hocus Pocus an 8 out of 10. So that's my Halloween special. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about it. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about Hocus Pocus. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it one of the movies you watch every single Halloween? Let me know. If you like this video, give it a like. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye! Do you like my costume? It's a Stitch onesie, and I got Stitch gloves from a birthday present from my older sister. Thank you to William for letting me film in your house. Very wonderful. It's nice to have a proper set instead of a window in a camper. And everyone just keep wearing your masks.